The Detroit Lions decided to stand down at the trade deadline, and now we're potentially looking at perfect timing for a player to come back to the Detroit Lions. We're going to talk about that, what happened with the trade deadline, what Dan had to say about it, and I got a few other things for you right when we get back. Let's do it.
Pressured by Hutchinson, he goes down again.
All right, welcome into Rockhound Detroit Lions. My name is Will Rock. I appreciate each and every single one of you stopping in to check out this video today. And if you haven't, well, why haven't you? Click that subscribe button somewhere in here right now. Hit that like button, toggle on those notifications, and let's get into it each and every day. Again, it's a wonderful day to be a Detroit Lions fan. It really is. And I know a lot of you are reeling in frustration today. You're upset about the Lions not making a move. But we have some perfect timing kind of going on right here. I think that we have a perfect storm, and I just hope that it rains in the right direction for the Lions for the last half of the season. But first, before we get to that, I got a quick question for you. If you like the color yellow, I got this new yellow shirt. If you like the color yellow, drop the word yellow below in the comments and let me know. If you don't like yellow, you don't like yellow. But hey, enough about the rainbow, man. Let's get into what's going on here with the Lions' decision to stand down at the trade deadline. And what that really reflects to me is a broader strategy of building through the draft, right? It's the Lions strategy that they've had this entire time. It's draft, develop, redevelop the internal guys, right? The internal talent, go out and find the right guys so that you can develop them, the right guys in free agency as well. Those guys do matter. But it also suggests a level of confidence in their existing roster. Now, it would seem as if we don't have much of an existing roster, but we got a few guys that have been around for a little bit. And the coaching staff is definitely in place to do it, even though we might have a few hurdles right now with John Morton and some other things going on with the offense. I'm hoping, trusting that Dan Campbell is going to be able to get that turned around. So here's what Dan Campbell had to say about the trade deadline, and someone asked about a missed opportunity potentially. So let's get into that.
Yesterday's trade deadline stuff, the way you had talked about it leading into it, you did not anticipate, any activity. I'm just wondering, how much did you even hear from Brad regarding trades throughout the day yesterday?
Yeah, there was things that popped up. There was, it was really after I talked to you guys, then we started getting some, there was some things here and there, but it was just, there was nothing that was, I would say, enough to be noteworthy, I mean, it was certainly more intriguing, but it wasn't good enough. So, all good, man. We're ready to roll.
And I don't know if there's any, feeling of missed opportunity inside. I know fans feel that way at 4:00, nothing happens, but just how do you like sort of this is a group now going forward? So
yeah, dude, I feel good. I'll say this again. My job is to freaking get these guys ready to play on Sunday. And I've got the roster to do it. We got depth. We got the dudes. We got weapons. We got a quarterback. I got to do my part. I got to do my job, and I got to get them ready. And I got to make sure we cross all the T's, dot the I's, and that man, we turn over every stone and make sure our guys are ready to roll, and we help them get ready to roll. So, man, I'm good. I feel great. I really do.
I get it. Not everyone feels great. Dan Campbell feels great, though. And I do trust in his ability to get this team back on the right track moving forward. Look, we have a lot of football in front of us. Still have a half a season to go. And you know what the good thing is? There's not really a team out there in the NFC North or even in the NFC that has multiple games of a lead, right? It is a close race right now. Anything can happen. Every team seems to have lost a game that they shouldn't have, including the Lions. So the Lions were just not settled, right? Dan, Brad, just not settled on making a move just to make a move. Had to be the right guy, had to be the right player. They just didn't feel it, right? And I get it. I also feel that it's a very bad idea just to make a trade for the sake of making a trade. Just to make a headline for the sake of making a headline. It has to be the right guy. Now, I also took away from that those guys are just not good enough to be Detroit Lions. They were not better than what the Lions already had, and maybe the price was just way too steep to make that trade happen. So, look, the Lions seem prepared, right? They seem prepared to address the offensive line concerns internally. They have Tristan Colon. They have Kingsley Agukin, as he mentions. If he mentioned there, we'll mention here shortly, expected to step up. And one more major piece of information to kind of go along with that is another player that is expected to step up in a big way, and maybe a player that a lot of us were not expecting to have an opportunity to step up. And let's hear what Dan Campbell had to say about that player.
With the offensive line, you got two guys on IR. With the offensive line, you got two guys on IR that we haven't heard from for a while, Miles and Gio. Just kind of curious if either of those guys are kind of part of the future plans.
We start Miles' clock today. All right, so he's going to start practicing today. First one back. And there again, he's no training camp, no nothing. So this will be, a little bit of a baby fawn at the beginning, and then he'll quickly go. It's a little bit like Mahogany. It took a while, but once we got him, man, he just quickly grew. He got with practice reps. So we'll start him, and then who was the other one? I'm sorry, Gio's still a few weeks out. Okay, so I don't see us starting him, within the next week or two. But he is getting better. He will be ready at some point here, I think. There again, we'll see. But yeah, it's good to get Frasier back. So there's somebody else here in the hopper we get eyes on. We liked him in the draft process, like the way he is, but we don't know a lot about him yet in the NFL level. He just needs reps, right, in practice.
With Frasier, what did you guys like most about him coming out of LSU? And is he someone that you think could step in at some point in the next month or so once he gets his legs beneath him?
Well, he's versatile. He can play the guard. He can play tackle. He did both of those at LSU. He was a guy, man, he can sustain blocks. He's got power. He's pretty tenacious. He finishes. He was kind of the guy that just, you look around and you're like, this guy just always makes blocks. He's just always on his guy. And he's just always finishing down the field. And, if he does get beat, it's never fast. Guy has got to try to freaking bull him, finally get an edge. Quarterback's holding on to the ball, and it's a late, something late. Like, those are the things you want to see. Man, he takes good angles at the second level. So there's a lot of things that we like about him. He's going to need reps,
All right. So, that's key, right? I think that is, it's not only a key addition to this team, it's another key draft pick that the Lions brought in. And it's going to make all the difference or no difference at all. And I think that's the key takeaway, right? It's going to make all the difference or no difference at all. Miles Frazier's clock has been started. That means he has 21 days to get back to the team. And if he doesn't make it, he will revert back to the IR and be done for the year. The question that I have, or a couple of statements that I'm going to make here is, every team kind of does this a little bit. It's kind of the unspoken truth of stashing players on IR or stashing players on NFI or leaving them when, if that player's not necessarily needed right now, well, there's no real reason to rush that player back. That's how you gain extra spots. And again, I'm not accusing the Lions of doing anything wrong. I'm just saying, look, if this player has been ready, if he has been practicing on his own, not with the team, he's been in the team meetings, he's been around the team, he's been doing the weight training and all of the other physical, training and rehab and everything in the facility. And I'm sure he's been practicing on his own. I'm sure he's been putting something on tape or something to show the team, look, I'm ready. I'm feeling better. This is how I'm moving. And he's able to do a few things, in the building. He just can't practice with everybody. So they've got to feel that he has something. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't have gone to this length to not take anybody at all, right? So he has to have something. So what I'm speaking to here is just about every team will do this. If he's been ready, you leave him just kind of chill for a little bit until you need that player. You absolutely have to have that player. And, I say that because the previous comments that Dan made about Frasier was several weeks ago when he was asked about Frasier. And he said, yeah, it doesn't look like it. Doesn't look like it's going to happen this year. Not the same trajectory as Mahogany. Mahogany was way ahead of where Frasier is. And so maybe something's changed. Maybe something's changed, or maybe Dan was just feeding this hook, line, and sinker a little bit. I don't know. Either way, I love it. It's all good. Next question I have for you is, does this open up, he uses the word Pandora's box, does this open up the potential to expose Jared Goff to increased pressure, potentially, hindering the team's offensive performance overall? Does it open up, and I'm not even going to use that word, I just don't want to see Jared suffer anything major, right? He took on a lot of pressure, a lot of hits this last week. Can't continue to happen. If we don't have JG, we don't have a team. We just don't. We don't have a backup quarterback. We don't, the season's over if we don't have Jared. So there's no coming back from that. And I don't think that Dan or Brad would ever put Jared in that kind of a situation. So we have to have a little bit of confidence here that they're not going to ruin their, $200 million man or whatever his contract is. So coming up here, the next couple of weeks, it's going to be vital, right? Determining whether this gamble, if you want to call it that, is going to pay off for Dan and Brad, or if the Lions are going to regret not addressing their offensive line concerns. And yeah, they're big concerns. They absolutely are. But there's a reason why Dan does it this way. If their offensive line concerns weren't addressed more aggressively, there has to be a reason for it. And I think that Dan, what he says next shows you the confidence in the decision. So let's go back to Dan. Let's hear what he has to say. We'll break it down here in just a moment.
You know your own guys. You've been around them. You know your own guys. You've been around them. You've seen them. You know the greatness behind them. You know their warts too, and we all got them. You know what I mean? So I don't mean that physically. I mean, I don't know. Or maybe have one of them. But my point is, you know some of the good. You know the strengths. You know some of the weaknesses. You know how they're made. You know how they react under pressure. You know what they're like every day in practice when they haven't gotten an opportunity, but they want one. You see all these things, and as long as they're continuing to grow and get better, then our trust goes up in those guys. And it doesn't mean that it's going to be perfect but yet it gives you faith in those guys. And until further notice, they'd have to prove us wrong. They get an opportunity, then fine, prove us wrong. If we do, we'll move on to the next guy. But I think that helps when you're around these guys for a long enough time, training camp. Here we go. These guys on vet squad. I mean, we've got some guys who've been here for a while now. And so they've been trained a certain way. They understand what we want, what we're looking for, how to play the game. And so I think it gives them confidence, yeah.
That's it. I mean, it's that simple, right? Dan says, hey, they know how we want to play the game. And he's absolutely going to bank on the internal solutions right now. It's always a better plan. I don't care what team it is. If you have the right guys, that's where it all starts. You have to have the right guys. And if these guys don't pan out, it clearly could be, a major catastrophe. It could also be a missed opportunity to bolster an area of need, which it's a huge area of need. I mean, this team doesn't function without a high level offense. And I mean, Dan's plan is simple, right? Got to get the guys ready to go. They're going to get an opportunity. They're going to have to show us that they're ready. They're going to have to prove us wrong. And if they do, then we'll go and look. And I'll say this. There are some players available still. There are. You just have to look around. Matter of fact, I got a video coming out later on today that's talking about one. There's still some opportunity for some players to join this team. Some players that have played a lot of snaps. They just didn't need to be a free agent, they didn't need to be on another team at the trade deadline. There's some free agents that are still out there. There's some lesser known, players that are available that could be pretty good. And we'll get into that, later on when I do my video. I think there's another real opportunity if the Lions had to go that far that they could. And you'll see what I mean later when I talk about it. But let's get into Dan's plan and what Dan's plan is for the rest of the season, or at least for right now, and hear what he has to say next.
Perfect. Let's clean some of this. Perfect. Let's clean some of this stuff up.
Yeah, just on the radio yesterday, the possibility of mixing up the offensive line. How do you plan on reaching that decision? Is there anything you're trying out, I guess, first and foremost?
Well, I think we'll start right now. As usual. All right, Yodi goes in, and then we may start putting Cologne in some spots here and move these guys around today and tomorrow. So we'll start as we've kind of ended that game the other day, and then let's maybe we start moving some pieces around. So that's kind of where I'm at now. Doesn't mean that I will do it, but I'd like to do it today, at least a play or two, and see what that looks like. See where we're at. Maybe some walkthrough reps.
All right, that's the plan. He's thinking about moving some guys around. We've heard this before, more so, I think other media members talking about it or whatever. And Dan has also mentioned this in the past too, that, moving guys like Penei Sewell to the left side is never their first plan. That's never their first thought. So there's an opportunity here, right? If you have to move Penei, this is where I go with it. If Taylor Decker can't play, and you've just saw what is going to happen, whether it's the Minnesota game or any other game, anytime that Dan Skipper's in there at the left side or anyone else that's been in there at the left side has not gone well. The best tackle we have to protect Jared Goff's blind side is Penei Sewell. He used to be a left tackle at Oregon. He converted to the right tackle position at the NFL level. He can play the left side. He can play anywhere. He just needs a few snaps to get ready for it. And I'm sure he's been taking a few snaps here or there over the last several weeks. I don't know that for sure. I shouldn't say that. I'm guessing that he has, just to be ready. Look, the Detroit Lions' decision to remain inactive during the NFL trade deadline, it sparked a lot of debate, and I get it. The Lions have to do what they have to do to survive right now. They have to get some guys healthy. They have to find ways to win. The defense has to play lights out. There's a lot that goes on to win a football game. It's crazy to me that when you start to see how important a player or two really is on your team, right? And when you go down a couple of players, how quickly things can change. This is the NFL. So if you're down one player or two players, things can change in a hurry. And you're starting to see that more and more and more. But this debate that's kind of going on around town, I guess, is speaking more about the Chargers and why it's especially concerning that the need for offensive line support should have been addressed similarly to what the Chargers did. I don't get this part. I don't understand this because the Chargers situation way different than what the Lions are going through. I get it. Look, Decker may not play this week. Penei Sewell could be injured and not play this week. Still don't know. If both of those guys are out, yeah, well, then it's put guys where it makes the most sense. Do what you can do. But you're definitely not going to bring in a left and a right tackle on a trade and then do what? What are you going to do? Who are you going to get rid of? You're going to have to get rid of some guys. You can only have so many guys. You're not going to trade for some guys and then go put them on a practice squad. God, I hope people weren't thinking that. But the Chargers, this is why this is nuts to me that this would even get mentioned. Preseason for the Chargers. Let me just run you through what happened real quick. Preseason for the Chargers. So Rashawn Slater, their left tackle, goes down with a torn patellar tendon. He's out for the season. The adjustment was to bring Joe Alt, who was drafted to play right tackle, back over to left tackle. So he's now in at left tackle. Then they elevated Bobby Hart into rotation. He went to right tackle. Okay. Mekhi Becton, since the very beginning of the season, their right guard has been dealing with nothing but knees, concussions, hand issues, misses a chunk of games. The adjustment then was Jamari Sailor filled in at right guard, and then Becton obviously went down. And then week 3 through 5, Joe Alt, remember he's in at left tackle now, gets his first high ankle sprain, misses a couple of games. The adjustment for this, all right, hey, Bobby, you're over there. We're going to swing you back, and we're going to put you down to left tackle, and then we're going to bring up Trey Pipkins, and we're going to plug him in at right tackle. Like, this is massive injury issues and musical offensive line chairs going on. It got worse. Week 6 through 8, Joe Alt returns. He goes back to left tackle. Hart, he goes back to swing to right tackle. He's swinging all over the place, right, left, all over. And then the line was briefly stabilized for a moment. And then Becton is still out, or still in and out, I should say. And then week 9 happens. Joe Alt ends up injuring that ankle again, season-ending surgery. So now you have left and right starting tackles out. Starting right guard is in and out, mostly out. And then you have these practice squad guys in Bobby Hart, playing right tackle. Then he left the game with a groin ankle injury. So now you have your 3 best tackles out and your right guard out. And now you have guys like Jamari Sailor in at left tackle, Trey Pipkins over at right tackle. The interior shuffled all over the place depending on Becton's availability. And so then you get to the trade deadline, and the Chargers got Trevor Penning from the Saints. So what they did, totally different needs analysis here, totally different situation. The Lions are still expected to have Penei Sewell. They're still expected to have Taylor Decker at some point. And we still have some guys coming back, and we still have some guys on the practice squad. So much, much, much different situation. Why didn't the Lions make the move? Well, look, there's other things. Contract considerations. You still have a lot of upcoming contract issues, or I should say upcoming contract extensions, not issues, for some key players that will cause issues down the line with the Lions having to be flexible, with their cap space. So there's that. And then you have the internal solutions, right, that we've already been talking about. The Lions appear to be banking on the internal solutions, including the potential return of Miles Frasier and the elevation of Tristan Colon and Kingsley Aguakin. So those are the plans, right? Those are the plans. The last question I have is, it's like, what's really the worst that can happen with all of this, right? What is really the worst that could potentially happen for the Lions? Well, I don't think I need to spell it out for you. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. If Miles Frasier doesn't return to health and he's not able to make the roster or crack the 53, well, then he goes back down to IR and the season's over. The team may have missed an opportunity to bring some guys in, or maybe not. There's still guys on practice squads on all 31 other teams. There's still guys like Brandon Scherf, who retired, have no idea what condition he's in. And then there's another guy that I'm going to talk about here in another video. So this success of this season, it doesn't just rest on the offensive line. I mean, it's a big part of it. And yeah, you would have loved to have had a second left tackle or a third, tackle overall that could be just as good as Decker. But Decker was playing at a high level. And the teams that we're going up against are some of the best in the league. So it's not easy, right? If the Lions suffer more injuries, then it is what it is. But you cannot stack 12 offensive linemen thinking that you will suffer injuries. It doesn't work that way. You don't have enough spots. There's not enough players anyway. There's not enough players that they can play at a high level that are always available. It just doesn't work this way. And playing the hindsight 2020 game, look, that is the most dangerous game to play. It's like, I'll kind of leave you with this. It's kind of like me saying, I wish I would have played different Mega Millions numbers last night. That's how silly it is to me. You never know when someone's going to get injured. You start the season with, 9, 10, 11, sometimes 12 offensive linemen. You have 7, 8 up on the 53, and then the rest on the practice squad. That would even be a lot to have 12. The Lions have done it once before. I think they had 11 in the last 5 seasons. There's only so many spots, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not easy to run a football team. I know there's certain people out there that make it sound so easy, but it's not. And the Lions are doing a great job. We have a lot of football in front of us. Let's just go win the next one and worry about the next one after that when it comes. But that's all. Thank you for watching. Again, don't forget, send in a comment. If you love the yellow shirt, let me know. If you want to be a member, you know where to find me. And if you would like to subscribe, just smash it. Just be part of the channel. Look, it's all about truth, transparency, and honesty here. Don't listen to the lies and the rumors. Have a great day. Go on Pride. Go Detroit Lions. You guys take care. Bye-bye.
Pressured by Hutchinson, he goes down again.